Hello and welcome to the Guru Show. My name is Joni Ozeka and welcome to today's video. I am back and this time we're going to be talking about the latest Chelsea news. I'm also going to do a little bit of a preview for our first pre-season game of the season against Bayer Leverkusen tomorrow at Stamford Bridge. And so let's go in straight away with the bad news, and it is very bad news. Levi Cowill has suffered an ACL injury and it is now being reported that he will miss majority of next season. Obviously a massive blow for the team, and a part of you does you kind of think to yourself, is this some sort of knock-on effect of our season last year in terms of the amount of football that we played, and obviously playing in the Club World Cup as well. They haven't had much rest, we know that, but injuries, to try blaming that is quite hard, but it could have played a factor. But then going into next season as well, with Cowill missing a lot of the season, Buddy Ashio is still injured, and you got Wesley Fofana, who cannot seem to string more than 5 games together. It is interesting to see what Chelsea will do. I fully expect them to now go back into the market for a centre-back. Hato from Ajax has come in, but I think he's going to be more of a backup from Marc Cucurella. Vega, who was on loan at over at Juventus for the back end of last season, was playing as a left centre back over there as well. Could be an option, but there is reports that he will be leaving. I think Atletico Madrid are in for him, but I think Chelsea could now go back into the market. I would not be surprised if we were to go in for Marc Guéhi. I think that he is definitely a player that Chelsea should be looking at. He come through the youth system at Chelsea, went to Crystal Palace, done very, very well there, become their club captain. He only has a year left on his contract, and we were already linked with him previously, I think in January, and the start around the Club World Cup when the transfer market reopened. It was one that was being talked about. I think that he is definitely the player that Chelsea need to look at. I think we'd get him relatively cheap, considering the fact that he's only got 1 year left on his contract, and I think he completely fits the bill for Chelsea. He could play on the right of the centre backs, or he could play on the left, and I think he would definitely be a very good option for Chelsea. I think Axel Disasi will go. I wouldn't be surprised if Buddy Ashio goes. But I think that Chelsea definitely will be entering that market, and I think they will be going for Marc Guéhi. I think that is, as I said before, the most obvious of the options out there. And then going into the next story I want to talk about, and it is another big one really, but this time it's an outgoing player, and it is Nicolas Jackson. Apparently now it is being reported that it is now mutual from both Chelsea and Jackson after the early reports that he wanted to stay and fight for his position at Chelsea. It is now being reported that he is also in agreement with Chelsea that he will leave this summer. Now, where does he go? Bayern Munich is being talked about. Manchester United was being talked about, but now they've gone and got Benjamin Sacco from RB Leipzig. I can't see that happening. And the other obvious one is Newcastle United. Obviously, he is a player in a position that they have been trying to sign players in, and I think Newcastle's had an absolute shocking window. I don't know what it is. I think it is down to the fact they're now in that upper echelon of talent where they're now going for the big name players and trying to draw them to Newcastle. I think is being a lot harder than they expected. I think they're lacking a sporting director as well. I think he's either left or leaving, so there aren't really anyone that can sell the project for them. But what I will say is that I think Nicolas Jackson, the thing with Nicolas Jackson, he is a raw player. He's kind of like an equivalent to, say, Mykhailo Mudryk. You watch him, you can see the raw talent of them, but it just hasn't really come out. He's not clinical enough in front of goal. I think some of his better games for Chelsea, when he hasn't scored, I'd probably say he looked better on the left at times. But he is definitely, there's a player in there, and I think if he does reach his potential, I think he'd be an absolute fantastic signing for a club like Newcastle. Maybe the change of atmosphere. The thing is with Newcastle, he will be absolutely adored up there. Obviously, Alexander Isak might be going to Liverpool, which is a very scary thought considering what they've already bought already this summer. But yeah, Nicolas Jackson, I think for Newcastle could be a good sign-in. Bayern Munich, I don't see that happening. I don't know why they'd go for him when they got Harry Kane over there. And Juventus maybe, but there's not a lot of money in the in Serie A at the moment, so I can't really see that. I think AC Milan are also being rumoured. But yeah, as I said, Nicolas Jackson, I think he will leave. I think you'll probably see Christopher Nkunku leave as well. But the two players that Chelsea are majorly linked with at the moment is Garnacho from Manchester United and Xavi Simons from RB Leipzig. I'm happy with those two signings. I know a lot of people are getting a bit worried about Garnacho. The problem with me is that I do kind of like a redemption story. I've done it for many years as a Chelsea fan. I've always done it when we get linked with these players. Everyone's a bit like, oh, maybe not. They haven't done it here or there or anywhere. They got bad attitude, all this sort of stuff. It's kind of similar to Jadon Sancho when he came last summer. The fact of the matter is I like a redemption story, and I look at Garnacho, and I think there is a player in there. Now, if Chelsea can go out there and get him for, 35, 40 million quid, you've got Gettins already, you've got Astaval, we got players in those sort of positions. Obviously, Pedro Neto, Cole Palmer can play over on the right. So I'm not all against it. Simons as well coming in can play in all the positions in the attack as well. So apart from striker. So, I'm not against Garnacho. Now, the reported fee today that's been going around is apparently Manchester United want 50 million quid for him, or it might have been 60 million quid. I think absolutely not. We took him for absolute mugs with Mason Mount. We pulled their trousers down and we shoved it right in there. I don't think we should then go and give some of that money back for Garnacho. If we can get him for, say, 35 million quid, 40 million quid, I think it's worth a punt, because when he's on form and when he has played very well for Manchester United, one of the games was against Chelsea. I think it was the back end of the Pochettino season, so not last season, the season before he played at Stamford Bridge, and he scored a couple goals. And, he does look a player. He looks good on the break. He looks like a player that we could definitely use. But 50, 60 million quid for a player that probably will not start. Yeah, no, I'm not for that. I don't want any part of that. But as I said, 35 million quid, 40 million quid, could definitely see that happen. And I think it'd be a decent deal. And I think that Simons coming in, I think he gives him a bit more of an option. I think he can cover, obviously, Palmer. I think it'll also be a sort of him in Enzo, because obviously Enzo may go slightly deeper. And then that would free Simons to come in, Cole Palmer over on the right-hand side. And, you could see sort of that happening. Or maybe Lavia, if he's fit, he'll drop back Enzo and Simons will kind of, interchange during matches. Obviously in the Champions League now, so you need that strength and depth as well. But, the season and the squad does look like it's going to be a good season for Chelsea. Obviously, losing Levi Cowill is a big hit, because the back end of last season, I think he was absolutely fantastic. Definitely cemented that position, looked a colossus at times at the back for Chelsea, and it will be a miss. And I wish him a speedy recovery, and I hope that he does get back very, very soon, and as soon as possible, as long as he is 100% fit as well, because you don't want players to rush. But he's going to be a miss for Chelsea, and I can't wait to see him back. But let me know your thoughts down below on all of the things I've talked about. What's your thoughts on Garnacho? Does Chelsea go out there and get him? Do they pay the 50 million quid, even though I think that is a bit steep? What about Levi Cowill? Who do you bring in to replace him? And Nicolas Jackson, where do you think he will end up? Or do you think he may stay at Chelsea next season? I think the chance of him being third choice striker, I don't really see happen. You got João Pedro now coming off the back of that Club World Cup where he was sensational. You brought Liam Delap in, who day by day looks more of a bargain when you see some of this money being thrown around. Chelsea paying 30 million quid for a proven young Premier League striker, I think is just shown some very shrewd business done by Chelsea. So let me know your thoughts down below. Make sure to like, favourite, comment and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow after our first pre-season game of the season. Really excited to see the players, really excited to see Esteval. Obviously he scored that fantastic goal against us in the semi-final of the Club World Championship, and I'm really excited to see how he performs. I think he's going to set the Premier League afire. I don't want to put too much expectations on him too soon, but I think it will be interesting to see how he performs. So thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll speak to you again soon. See you later.